Going live. Going live. The Hangout on Air is live. Welcome. Good morning. Happy Friday. Show us those guns. Flex your muscles. Let's wake up. Time to get going if you're on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, if you're on the West Coast, it's time to get going. If you're on the... See, I got it all backwards. It's too early. Let's just go home and go back to sleep.
It sounds like a plan.
If you're on the East Coast, you're already hopefully going pretty well by now, thinking about lunch, what you're going to eat.
Right.
How much it's going to cost, what app you're going to use to take a picture of the receipt from where you went.
That's right.
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff. So I hope everybody's doing well. How is everybody doing? Everybody chime in and say hello while I get organized here.
Hello. It's been a challenging week for me. My Comcast was down again.
Oh, my biggest fear. I'm thinking about putting in DSL as a backup.
Well, I'm just learning.
But my whole life is on the internet.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You wake up, make your plans on what you're going to do, and then all of a sudden, boom, no internet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live virtually,
Yeah, that's a problem.
I went and took my little doggy for a walk in the woods.
Yeah, maybe you needed to do that. See?
LastPass hacked.
Do you not have one of these, Gina? We've talked about this.
Yeah, yes, no, I do not for here at my house. My house has like this, I'm in a weird no power zone for those kind of things.
Gotcha.
I am wired, I have Comcast, and 90% of the time it's good. Just for whatever reason, that day they had a problem in my area.
Well,
Just 90%?
Yeah. Dad, can you use that with your desktop?
Well, if the desktop has Wi-Fi, if it's wireless ready.
Yeah, I know I can with my laptop. I thought about adding that feature to a desktop.
I don't own a desktop. That's so like 5 years ago.
Oh my.
Well,
at least you don't own a piece of fruit like you're.
What about that little stick that they came out with? That Windows 10 stick. Has anyone seen that?
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh my gosh! I have to find out where I saw that from.
How do we keep up with all this?
A Windows 10 stick? What do you mean? Does that get you Wi-Fi somehow?
It's supposed to be a computer, and it looks like a thumb drive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Seth, I can't believe you don't have one of those yet.
No. Years ago I used to always have to get the latest, greatest thing. Now I'm a little, probably because I'm getting older and grumpier, I'm a little more practical. Like, if I don't actually need it, I'm not gonna, like, it took the longest time for me to get a tablet because I was much more happy to have my laptop with me. I'm a big, strong guy. It's no big deal for me to carry it around, and I have the full functionality of a complete operating system rather than, like just Android or iOS on a tablet or an iPad. I feel better knowing I have everything I could possibly need rather than having a tablet that I may run into, some friction somewhere along the way because I'm trying to use something that's really not built to work on a tablet. So I bought the tablet last year at some point when I upgraded to my Galaxy Note 4. I got the Samsung tablet, so it's like big brother, little brother. And the truth is, it's funny? My phone heard me say Galaxy Note, and it activated the voice thing.
Note. I know, mine does that too.
I wasn't talking to you. Go back to sleep.
Mine does that too. Whenever you say, "Hey Galaxy," it turns on.
There it is.
Wait, let's see what it does.
I'm controlling Seth's.
It says, "I'm not sure what you mean by for I got the Samsung tablet says like big brother, little brother. Amber Tretto is my phone heard me say Galaxy Note and it activated the voice thing. That's hysterical. I wasn't talking to you. School, go back to sleep."
That's so funny. I was trying to teach my mom how to use her iPad hours before this happened, but we were talking and she's been sick, and I said, "I'm so sorry, Mom," and her little iPad went, "No need to apologize."
It's so scary when it joins the conversation.
Do that when you have a demented mother. That really helps.
Oh, that's funny.
I've been having some problems online with not here locally, but when I was up at my camp the other weekend, the AT&T website tells me that there is 4G in the whole area where my camp is, and I can't get any type of data on my phone.
Can't find it, huh?
At all, no. But I can see a Verizon tower in the horizon, and so now I'm like, do I switch to Verizon so I can get service when the AT&T map says that there's service up there, but I don't get it?
You know what I did when I couldn't decide? I
What's that?
started calling realtors. Like
Oh.
we like to go to the mountains and some places on the coast, and I say call a realtor because they'll know exactly where these,
Yeah, good point.
Verizon. So
Yeah, because I want to go up there and work more, just like during the week instead of being here in town, and I can't because I can't get online.
yeah.
So I at one point told my S-voice thing to F off, and it came back with a response actually saying, cool it.
Yeah, those programmers, they've heard it all.
I'm sure, of course they have. Right, and then I remember years ago, before it was even nearly as advanced as it is now, but when Google Maps was fairly new, and then they started having the voice commands where it was, you would say find and you'd give the address. So just to be a smartass, I said find a hot girl, and I was in Beverly Hills at the time, so just given the general area I was in, I imagine that's why this came up. But it starts searching the map and ultimately locates the Playboy Mansion.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you were going to say a local hooker on the corner.
That would have been really funny. As long as it didn't come up with like farmersonly.com.
When I bought my first Honda that had the voice thing, and so I was showing my mother, and she got in the car, and so I said, "Watch this, Mom." I said, "It says radio on," and it turned on the air conditioner. And my mother said, "Honey," she said, "this car was made in Ohio. It doesn't understand a word you're saying." It has never understood me. Worthless feature.
All right. Who wants to dive into the subject matter of the day?
What is the subject matter of the day?
That's a good question. I think it was planning the growth of your business from the numbers.
Oh.
Kind of an offshoot from last week's Hangout. Did everybody here see last week's Hangout? Did you do your homework? Did you watch it? We talked about value pricing and setting up your packages.
I know how to do that.
I put it into practice last week when I put a quote into a company. So thank you.
How'd that go?
I'm waiting for a response back on if I got the job or not.
Okay. I love that shirt, man. You have like a nice shirt with your logo there up by your shoulder.
Let's see here.
So what's it say?
Genia Business Services. There are puzzle pieces.
I love it.
And it has bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes in the puzzle pieces.
That's awesome.
I wear it everywhere. I got a jacket with it. It's on my car. I mean, everyone in town knows who I am.
Brand
And I've only been here for a year.
Nice marketing.
Thank you.
I always want to wear my School of Bookkeeping shirt, but I just feel weird wearing a shirt with my name on it. That says Seth David, because then the other ones say not Seth David. So, I feel weird.
Like that, though, Seth. I mean, it makes it look like you're really super famous. And if they don't know who you are, what's wrong with them?
If I'm next to the people with the not Seth David shirts, then it makes a lot of sense, and then it's really funny, because then people are like, who the heck is this guy? Like, why is that important that they have to have a shirt acknowledging that they're not him, right? When we first wore those at QuickBooks Connect, people came back to me through LinkedIn and said, I had to look you up on LinkedIn because I saw your name everywhere at QuickBooks Connect. But it just feels weird to wear a shirt by myself. But I love the new shirts that we got with the big red patch on the side of the sleeve, and it just makes me feel really important. It's good to wear your brand on a shirt.
Well, you are important, Seth.
At least I think I am sometimes.
Well, Ralphie will definitely say you are.
What's the expression? I'm not that much, but I'm all I think about.
I always go by the the famous saying, or Joanne's famous saying, that she's a legend in her own mind.
That was going to be my next one. I'm a legend in my own mind. That's right.
There you go.
There you go.
My mother's line is well, my line for my mother is it's her own personal mythology.
I like that. Yeah. My own personal mythology. I like just saying, my life is so good it should have background music. So, I'm going to share my screen with you all. And first, with y'all, I'm going to share it with y'all. Is that good, Sarah? Do I sound like I'm from the South?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Did I pull it off?
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen with y'all.
Grow us Southerners some love and
I was always pretty good with a Southern accent, and I could also do Australian pretty well. But I would try to do a British accent, and I would end up doing Australian.
Australian, yeah.
Yeah. I guess Australian's somehow easier. British, you actually have to speak like proper. And I just can't do it. I just can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power.
look at you.
Dude, that was Irish, right?
Scotty.
Or Scottish, that's
I
right.
sounded Scottish.
That's what I need to work on, Irish.
I don't have the power.
Gotta watch some more Sons of Anarchy, then you'll get the Scottish accent.
There you go.
Actually, that's Irish, Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, but there's one guy in there that's Scottish.
That's right, Chibs.
Gibbs.
Chibs. I love that guy. He's awesome. So, and that's why I loved when I got the schoolofanswers.com domain, because it's SOA.
SOA.
Perfect. So, got to give props and acknowledgments where they are due. Before I continue and forget, because that's usually what happens, I always have to thank our Team SOB members. We have Katie Peterson, who hosts the Monday chat. We have Mariette, who hosts Tuesday's tax chat. Jay Kimmelman on Zero on Wednesdays. Billy Ann Grigg, who's here with us right now on Thursdays, QBO and QB. And then, of course, Fridays, we have the incredible, not necessarily edible, Joanne Del Balso.
I guess that depends on. Depends.
No,
edible.
PG-13.
Okay.
See, I had to just go down that road with the word incredible, and then that just led me.
Edible.
Egg. Are you an egg, Joanne?
No, I'm not. But I do eat a ton of eggs, true story.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Perfect. And the egg is the symbol of life, right?
That's right.
Because it just keeps going around and around. There's no beginning or no end.
Joanne is a good color.
So we're talking about planning the growth of your business from the numbers. Look at that, 35 people saying they want to come and watch us. Imagine that.
Where's Doug? I don't see Doug.
Where's Doug here? How many people we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have room for one more. No, with me it's 10. I didn't count myself. You know what I love about sharing my screen is you can't see what I'm doing. So.
View more. I want to see more people under who was watching.
Yeah.
Oh.
These are just the ones that said they were going to watch.
Yeah, these are just the ones that said they were going to watch. Doesn't mean they're actually watching. Maybe they'll watch later. Maybe
we should
tomorrow.
call them out. We should call them out and have them post something.
All right, so yeah, just ping them up in the Google chat. If it works.
Marietta will respond.
Do you know if we can't see you or hear you, you could actually just watch and do the same effect, right?
What you talking about, Willis?
Well, I'm talking about Katrina.
Oh, yeah, no, they could watch. They could be watching out there.
I can't hear you, Katrina.
Right now, my readout is a little disappointing. It says that we have 9 viewers, and that could be. I don't know if that counts those of us who are here in the live panel, or if it's just people, watching.
That must be the lot. That must be the panel.
I don't think so.
No, because it'll get up to 30, 40, 50, 60. We've had some hangouts where we've had a lot of people. So
maybe they know we chit-chat for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then they're coming in.
That's true, which means it's now exactly time to get into the meat.
That's right. Let's focus.
My time, it's 11:15 on the right coast. We're on the left coast. And somewhere in the middle, it's sometime in the middle. You do math. I don't like numbers. So So this is my reminder. This is my Evernote reminder that comes up. So people ask how to do recurring tasks. Here's how I do them in Evernote. So now that I did my my acknowledgement, we're going to change the date. Of course, it has to show up on my other screen here. Let me shrink this up so it shows up here. We're going to change the date to next Friday at 6 a.m. So Evernote pops this reminder up so I don't forget to say thank you to the people who I need to say thank you to. That's how you do a recurring task in Evernote. People are always asking me, whenever I mention a project management option, does it do recurring tasks? And I say, no, just change the date every time you finish it. And the truth is, like Wunderlist, a lot of people are loving Wunderlist, by the way. I got some good feedback because I've been recommending it to people. And it has its own built-in recurring feature, but you know what happens? I have some tasks that are daily recurring, but I don't actually remember to check them off every day. So then a week later, I have to click it 7 times to get caught up. It's annoying. So I like the idea for recurring tasks of actually just when I complete the date for the next time that it's due. Or as in the case of Evernote, here's another use case. And I hope I don't embarrass myself like by showing you guys something I didn't mean to. Because this is like my real Evernote stuff. So I keep a daily note. You've probably all seen me do videos on that already. And I don't necessarily update it every day. Like here, I didn't update this since Wednesday.
Like your diary?
Kind of, like just a daily log of what's going on and what I need to get done, both personally and business-wise, right? Here's videos for School of Answers, for Sons of Anarchy. You know, so I just keep a log of just day-to-day stuff I want to remember to do, and then I check them off, and when they get completed, I make a copy of the note. I don't change the date. So this goes from action pending to cabinet general, and then I go, and then I can clear off the reminder. This time I don't mark it as done, I just clear it. I don't really care to keep that history in place. Then I go copy this to my action pending notebook. Copy. I know this wasn't today's subject, but just real quick. So now I have a new note, and we're going to call this Friday. And today is June, what, 19th, right?
It's a Friday. So you're just carrying forward your things that you didn't finish the day before, or the...
Pretty much. So if I had checked anything off from here, great. Evernote's freezing up on me. God bless them. But if anything had been, first I checked things off that were completed the previous day, and then after I copy it over, I remove those. So I have like a running history of all the stuff, you know, and this is just a sort of high-level to-do list kind of thing that I do. And like you can see, I had Burbank Public Works. I was having a problem with my garbage pickup. One of my idiot neighbors parks in front of my house and parks himself right on top of the garbage cans. So then we get love letters from the Public Works Department saying you need to park a foot away, and then I have to call them and say it's not me parking there. I have no control over my idiot neighbors, and then they have to come back and get my garbage. My story there. All right, Evernote is freezing up. Good. That's God's way of telling me this is not what I'm supposed to be showing you today anyway. So,
Control-Alt-Delete.
What?
Control-Alt-Delete.
Eventually. I'll see if it kind of wakes up. Sometimes if you just let it rest, it catches up. So I'm actually going to pull this off my screen because here I might actually be dealing with some confidential data along the way to what I want to show you. But just to recap what we're talking about here, good night, Evernote. I think you're done. I think you are done. So we're talking about, if you remember from last week, we talked about setting up our packages, right? Setting up our value pricing system, so to speak. And so now I wanted to kind of take, today I want to do kind of an offshoot to that. So here we go. There's my content folder, and then you guys will be excited. I have an actual Abo folder, and this is shared. I believe we have the link in the Abo group on Facebook so that you can access anything that's in this folder, by the way. So that if you wanted to, you could take a look at this. So here's planning the growth of your business from the numbers. Notice, of course, I'm doing this in Google Sheets, right? Because I forbid you to use Excel unless you absolutely have.
Oh, love my Smart Sheets.
Smartsheet too. I thought about doing this in Smartsheet, but there's, as you know, Smartsheet does have some limitations with respect to formulas.
Right.
So when it comes to financial modeling type stuff, which is essentially what we're going to be doing here, that's where I have to defer to a full-fledged spreadsheet. So last week we talked about setting up packages, and what I've done is I've laid out 3 examples here. of the levels that you might have, right? 350, 500, 1,000. Let's make this 2,000. We want a bigger differential, right? Then the next thing we want to do, and I know some of you have seen me do this 100 times, but we want to start laying out kind of like a timeline, right? And before we do that, what we're going to want to start to do is we're going to want to start to establish how many clients do we think we're going to be able to take in each month, and how are those clients going to be spread amongst these packages, right? So let me create a new sheet, actually. Click on my plus. Because the first sheet, this is really kind of where we start laying out the goals, right? So I had laid out last week that my goal in a scenario like this would be to get, you know, the goal is going to be based on the median, right? The one that's in the middle. And that's kind of the idea of setting up packages like this, is that we're going to have people who are going to take the lowest tier because they're just going to want to get in at the least expensive sort of level, and then hope to be able to increase from there as they grow and as they can afford more. Right? Then the idea is most people are going to look at the 2,000 and say, wow, that's way too expensive. Fine, I'll settle in on the 500. You know what the reality has been for me, though, in practice is, and as some of you I think know, my plans are 350, 500, and then I think I have 1,000, then 3,000, and then 5,000, right? Not 30,000 and 50,000. That would be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reality for me is this. The clients aren't choosing the plans. The clients are coming to me. I'm doing my normal process for intake with them, where I'm talking to them and getting a sense of what's going on with their business, and based on that, the scope. And I actually, the same formula that I showed you guys last week in terms of how I sort of spec out a cleanup job is similar to how I spec out what I want it to look like on a monthly basis with these guys. I look at the number of different accounts that I'm going to be working on. I have a multiplier that I use, and then I multiply that. Well, then, actually, at that point, I've got my monthly fee, right, based on my multiplier. And, so in the end, I'm the one who's really deciding, not them, which of these packages to put them into. And then there's a negotiation. So last week, and I'm finalizing it today, actually, I had a client coming in who wanted my help, and just based on some of the different factors, and because I have it laid out on my website, and this client was smart enough to go check, she even said, hey, you know what, I think we're somewhere in between your $500 and $1,000 a month tier. So we settled in on $750 a month, and I said that's fine, right? So I was perfectly happy to do that. In reality, I felt it was very fair given the scope of what the job was. So at the end, I really believe that we're going to be the ones actually choosing which of these tiers our clients go into, more so than them. But the objective is to go for the median, and the median is where you figure most people are going to wind up just based on the law of averages, right? So you're going to set your goals based on that. So here's, even though I have more plans, technically 1,000 would be my median. More realistically, I'm thinking, and based on the kind of companies, I should say the size of companies that I'm targeting for this, I think they're going to fall into the $500 tier, more than any other. So I set my goals based on that. And my short-term goal is if I can get 100 clients in at this level, it's $50,000 a month, which is $600,000 a year, right?
And Seth, how do you figure the maximum number of clients you can support? I mean, there's you, and then do you need to hire somebody? Yes,
absolutely. I'm already not doing any of this myself. I have somebody helping me now. And it's, so basically what I've told him, and it's not very scientific, is I've said, his name's Jeff. Some of you have seen him pop in here on occasion. I've said, Jeff, and I meet with Jeff every single week. Every week we go through the clients. And in fact, after today's hangout, I'm going to meet with him. And this is a fun thing to do, by the way. We're actually meeting at the local Marriott here by the Burbank Airport. So that if anybody wants to come and see me and stalk me, that's where I'll be later today. But Jeff and I are meeting, and we're going to go through every single one of the clients. But the non-scientific answer to your questions, is what I said to him, which is as soon as you start feeling like you've got more than you can handle, then we'll bring on the first bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but shouldn't you be in charge of that? Shouldn't you? I mean.
Well, it's going to be the two of us, because what's going to happen is he is going to oversee them. Right? So he's going to manage them, they're going to do the client work, and I'm going to oversee the bigger picture stuff, right? So the idea here is I'm the architect. I develop the systems. I make sure that, and that we're going to get into in my course that's coming up that I've made a lot of references to in the context of the last few weeks' Hangouts. It's course 21, right? It's accounting and bookkeeping cloud practice management. So I designed the systems, and I've worked with Jeff on that. But no, it's going to be a joint decision, actually. I'm going to look at bookkeepers. I always have people coming in looking to help us, and the beauty of it is, the nature of what we're doing, since it's all remote, is I can find bookkeepers anywhere, right? I have the ABO group. I can talk to some of you, and as long as the revenue model works, then it works. I had somebody who looked very promising reach out to me through LinkedIn recently, and it's funny, I restructured some of my nerdenterprises.com website. And it's weird because I had the job opportunities page up there, which I haven't really used in a long time. It's been a long time since I actually put an ad out and said I'm looking for bookkeepers. But somehow, I guess when I restructured the site, that must have triggered that page to start showing up on search results, because all of a sudden I started getting some resumes in. I got like 2 or 3 resumes. And one of them was from somebody who, did exactly what I asked in the video on that page, which is I want to see your LinkedIn profile. And she looked very promising, so we've had some dialogue. So she may be the first one I bring in to help us with the bookkeeping, because I described the model that we have, which, as I mentioned last week, I'm not paying anybody by the hour, nor am I charging any clients by the hour. It's based on, I take in a client for $500 a month, I'm going to pay the bookkeeper a percentage of that. And then Jeff and I have talked about how to split it, in a sense, 3 ways, basically, once we have a bookkeeper and he's not the one actually doing the work anymore. So we have an agreement about that. So,
can I ask what that agreement is? Is it a percentage?
Yeah, it's a percentage. That's exactly right. So we have a 3-way percentage split, and actually I have a management spreadsheet, which I'm not going to show anybody, that lists all the current clients we have and what they're being charged each month total. And I've written the formula, so I have a column for the bookkeeper split. And I've written a formula that basically says if there's a number in that bookkeeper split, split the difference between me and Jeff according to the ratio. So the bookkeeper gets their split, and then the difference gets split between me and Jeff. So
I have a question.
Tricky.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
What are your thoughts on bringing in interns from like the local colleges?
My only concern is it can be a great way to grow and build and frankly take advantage of quote-unquote cheap labor. My only concern is, remember, these are your clients, and you want to make sure that they're being cared for with the very same care that you'll provide yourself. That's always my concern with that, is the intern really going to care? And I'll share a story with you that kind of, I think, touches on this. Similar lines. Wait, I'm looking in the chat here. Joanne says, I'm showing us a free way to do this. To do what? Oh, somebody's saying Excel costs money. I'm doing it on Google Sheets.
Yeah. Billy was complaining why we weren't using Excel.
Oh, well, who's complaining about Excel?
No, Billy was just wondering why you weren't why thought the Excel king was not using Excel, and I said because he's showing us a free way to do it.
Not only that, I'm also the Google Sheets king. And
yes.
Billy Ann, because you asked that question, I command you to take my Google Sheets course on the SOB site.
Oh, okay. I'll add it to my Evernote.
Because the reality is, Google Sheets, you'll find out from going through that course specifically, is it's almost exactly as powerful as Excel. It does all the same stuff. There's a few little nuances, like when I'm using the data filters, it doesn't have quite the powerful search that Excel does. When I'm in a filter dropdown and I want to use the search, so there's some little things that Google Sheets doesn't do that Excel does, but 95% of what you need is there in Google Sheets, and you have much more powerful collaborative capabilities in Google Sheets, where I can have any of you come into the sheet right now, and you and I can both be editing things real time.
Seth, was that the one? Was that the course you did that you showed the one sheet for the cash disbursements and how you did the whole drop-down menus?
Yep.
Across.
So
that is awesome.
I think I may even have that handy here.
Because I took that course, and from that course I created something like that specifically for a client who just really did not want to do anything but just categorize things simply, and I gave her that, and she absolutely loves it.
Here it is, a course in Google Sheets. So with a lot of these things, you really need like a good use case. So the use case I chose for this course was, and it was inspired by a blogger who had come out to me and said, hey, I have a really, really small business, like smaller than small. I really can't even afford QuickBooks Pro. at $160 or whatever that costs. And didn't even want to go like with a simple start kind of solution. This was developed for her, basically. I said, here's a free way. Google Sheets is free. You can get in here and you can create this register. And then, yeah, as you saw, here's monthly income by customer. This is kind of, you're seeing what the end result looks like. If you go through this course on schoolofbookkeeping.com, you'll see how to create this. But here's a pivot table. It's not as gorgeous as the pivot tables in Excel are, but it does the job. I can get my monthly revenue, as you can see here. Right? I can get my monthly expenses. And based on that, I could piece together a monthly P&L from this pretty easily, right? Then I have my category drop-downs, so I have a thing for the categories, right? So back in my master, when I'm entering something, I choose, and this comes in from a drop-down because, so Billy says, okay, that's really nice, Google Sheets courses next on my learning list. Mission accomplished. So let's go back to planning the growth. But so going back to the question, why Google Sheets? Because I can, right? Because I can and because I believe we should learn more and more how to use this tool because of the collaborative power that it offers us, which frankly you don't have in Excel. I know that Excel has, or Microsoft has SharePoint and Office 365, and I've played with those. It's not nearly as good as this in terms of the seamless collaboration that this offers. So we lay our goals out here based on the median. And so my annual goal based on this is $600,000. But the big question, and this is the question I'm hoping to answer today, is how do I get this? How long is it going to take me to get there? Right? So I'm going to add in another sheet. I'm just full of sheets. Come on, that was funny.
Sorry, I was muted. You didn't hear me laugh.
All right, so here's assumptions, and here's the actual model or projection. I hesitate to use the word like financial modeling because I'm always afraid that that's going to make it sound too sophisticated, and people are going to say, "Oh, I'm not an MBA in finance," and so I want to stress the point here that yes, it's financial modeling, but it's not that sophisticated. You don't need an MBA from Wharton in order to understand this stuff. I promise you. So let's go packages. I'm showing you my... Never mind. See, Gina, you started me down that path early this morning.
Girl.
But it's so much fun, Seth.
So easy to do.
We're going to go with a simple formula. We're going to say 3 packages, 350, 500, and 2,000. Remember, these are monthly fees, so I always like to be very specific in my description so people know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, I got to ask a question.
Okay, go ask a question.
Why do you never start in A1?
I always, it's funny you say that. And it's funny, the first time I taught my wife how to use spreadsheets, I'm really glad you picked up on that, Gabriel. The reason is really just inserting. I leave a buffer. Notice I leave a row and I leave a column in between.
Do the same thing.
And it just gives me a buffer for purposes of inserting. That's the only reason. Because if I start here and I insert, then I can only insert. I could insert above packages by selecting on packages. But when I have formulas that are totaling up and down or sideways, and you have to be really careful where you insert so that what you do insert, you want to control whether or not that gets included in the formula. So that's the real reason why. I always leave a buffer. I'm really glad you asked that because at this point it's very subconscious for me that I do that. So we're going to start. I always like to start, even though we're well into the year, I always like to start with the first of the year. And how many of you know how to write this date formula? Anybody want to help me write it, just so I can see who's been paying attention all the other times I've done Excel or Google Sheet demos? Gina, I see you laughing.
I'm laughing because I can't help you. I'm sorry. I just watch and wonder.
Okay. So we're going to say equals date. Right, and there are a lot of date-based functions in Excel. The idea here is I want to get a column for every month, and I don't want to have to manually do it. And you can use the autofill to accomplish this, but the difference is with the formula, I can copy and paste it, and I don't have to worry about the autofill anymore. So it just makes it a little easier if I take the time to do this right up front. So notice the syntax. Within the date formula, I open my parentheses. I need a year and a month and a day. and I want to base everything on whatever came before it, right? So the year is going to be the year of whatever's here. So year is another date formula that I'm including to define the year within the date formula. Everybody still with me? Okay, so then I'm going to say the month, and guess what? There's a formula called month, and that's also going to be based on what's before me, but that's what I want to add 1 to, because I want to advance 1 month. And then comma, the day, first comes from whatever's before. And now we're done, and now I can close up my date formula. Right, so I've got 3 little formulas wrapped inside of 1 bigger formula for the whole date. Done, February. Now I can copy this across. Shift right arrow, paste, Control V. I'm into May of 2016. That's good enough for me for now. So now what we want to do, and we want to establish this very clearly, this is going to be, the first thing we're going to lay out is the quantity. And what I mean by that is number of new clients each month. And that's where we're going to jump back to the assumptions. Gabriel, how many new clients do you think you can get in one particular month?
4 to 5.
Perfect. So now we need an assumption. So we need a couple of assumptions here. So let me insert lines. Let's do one more. Number of new clients each month. We're going to say is, you said 4 to 5? Let's start off aggressively. I always like to be more aggressive at first, and then if it doesn't feel realistic, we can always scale it back, right? And so now, since we're on the assumptions table, I like to start sort of formatting things in a way that makes it clear, you know, what can be entered. So we just need kind of a different format to this, so that it kind of jumps out like, oh, this is something we, oops, wrong one. This is something we want to be able to change. I always feel like the fill format thing should be to the left of the text format thing. I don't know why. And here comes the colors.
Right
Joanne,
on
I'm
cue.
trying to get my spreadsheet to look like your shirt.
Right on cue, Seth.
So now we need the distribution. If I get 5 new customers every month, how many are going to go here, here, or here, right? So remember I said most of them are going to go in the middle tier. So let's say this is 50% of all the new customers go in here. So let's say it's a really good standard deviation here. And so it's going to be 50, 25, and 25. Right? Everybody agree with me? Anybody disagree?
Lovely.
Which means that we're going to say equals, for the actual numeric distribution, the number of new clients each month times the distribution for that tier. Right? So that we're going to get 1 1/4 clients. We're going to fix that in a minute. Obviously, with an odd number especially, we're going to get a partial. But we're going to add in a rounding element to this to account for that. I'm laughing because I'm watching Senny try and adjust her view. Like we see her forehead, and she keeps bouncing up and down.
There she is.
There you are. Okay, so I want to copy this down quickly. I need the row number 2 in C2 to be held constant, so let's put a little $sign in there. I can't believe I'm running out of time already. I talk way too much. You know what? All right, let's format these like numbers. All right, always run a check to make sure that your formula worked the way it should have. And Gabriel, notice I've got a buffer here. I'm including an extra space above and below in my formula. Again, that's because I'm anticipating possibly having to insert, for example, if I add packages to this. Because I always forget, if I insert right here at the total, I don't think the new row is going to get included in the formula. I know for sure if I insert here, it will. So this works. But now I have to deal with, I can't have 1/4 and 1/2 of a person, right? So let's round it. Let's round this whole thing. So equals round, open parentheses, right? I put the formula in there, comma, we need 0 decimals. Close that up. Copy that down, and that works. We always have to get back to this number here, right? So let's test it. Let's say I go back in, I say, you know what? My momentum's building. I'm getting 15 new clients a month. So we have to watch this. We're going to get some rounding errors. Now, I want to be careful here to point out that it may not really matter, because remember, these are assumptions. They're just that. It's meant to give you a rough idea of what things are going to look like. So now we know how we can build the actual model, because we've got our assumptions laid out. So basically what we're going to say is each month, here's the number of new clients. We can pull it from the Assumptions tab for each tier. I'm going to get 1 new at 350, 3 new at 500, and 1 new at 2,000. And as you're going to see, this is going to represent pretty good growth. We're going to copy this all the way across our timeline. What happened? Try again. Control C. Just go out to the end of 2015. Control V. Okay, it's not behaving well.
It says it's saving.
Oh, maybe I'm going too fast. Where do you see that?
It was up top. Now it says all changes saved, so it didn't do anything.
Try this again. I know why. I think you have to paste the range properly.
Google.
Darn Google Sheets.
One day it works one way, the next day it works another.
I think
no.
Google's
You know what the problem
messing
is?
with you.
I forgot my $signs.
Oh. I thought Google was messing with you because you were showing off Google Sheets in a Google Hangout.
Well, the Google should be happy about that.
I know. I think they're messing with you.
Did you see how Facebook messed with me when I was trying to paste the link to this Hangout, and it kept saying there was a potential security issue with the page?
Nice.
There we go. See, it was my $signs. It actually was working, but because I forgot the $signs, there was nothing. There was no result.
User
so now,
error.
Exactly. Exactly. So now we have our quantities in place, but these are individual quantities, so now we need cumulative. Right?
Right.
So the first month is going to be exactly equal to whatever's above. The second month equals that, equals the previous month, plus the current month. And what I'm doing here is going to be pretty simple in terms of the way it accumulates. In reality, what we might want to do, and I don't have enough time in the hour we have here, but what you might want to consider is that you can scale this in a way that suggests that as time goes on, I'm going to get better and better and more streamlined. So it's not always going to be that I'm going to get 5 new clients each month. As I build momentum, I might start getting 7 new clients, then 10 new clients, and so on. Copy that out. Right, so now we're getting quite a few cumulative clients, and we should always total things. So let me insert a couple rows. So this kind of lets us know we're getting back to the 5 each month. This lets us know how many total clients we have each month. And there's another important assumption that we've left out here, but I'm going to come back to it. So this is individual. This is cumulative. Right? Total. Oh, and now let's figure out our revenues. This is the exciting part, right? See, somebody in Abo said the other day that accounting's not exciting, that they just do it because they love making money. Well, if making money is exciting, and it's exciting to make money doing accounting, then by the transitive property of excitement, accounting is exciting.
Right.
Remember learning that? Transitive properties, right, Sarah?
Right.
Transitive. Not transvestitive, but transitive. Not that I have anything against transvestites, but it's just not what I'm talking about here.
No, not on the agenda.
Although that would probably get a lot of viewers.
Maybe. Or not. All right.
It all just depends. So now, we have a simple formula, right? We're going to take the revenue base times the number of clients at that tier, right? I need dollar signs here. No, I do not. But now as I copy this across, I need column B to stay constant. I'm just putting my dollar signs in column B. All right, Gabriel, let's see how much money we're making here. Because it was you who said how many new clients we were getting. So equals sum. Oops. Remember, the goal is 600,000 a year gross. And then, yes, of course, we're going to be paying people out of that. So here's our monthly. And let me just get all of this described in numeric format. Who's huffing and puffing over there?
Sorry.
It makes me feel like you're like disappointed in what I'm doing.
No, that's right.
All right, let's get rid of these columns here. And Gabriel, you ready to see how much money we're making?
I'm ready to make money.
I love that. So if we had started in January of 2015 with this model, and if we had achieved the objective we set out to achieve, and that's a really important qualifier there, let's see how close we are to our goal. We're halfway there within 1 year, based on getting, but now here's the key. This means we have to consistently get 5 new clients each month. And so I'm going to spend a minute. Somebody have a question?
And retain them.
And retain them, which I'm glad you mentioned that, Sarah, because that's the other assumption that I mentioned that we need to do here. We need to factor in a certain amount of attrition, right? In theory, we're going to lose some percentage of our clients, right, especially as we accumulate more. So that's why it's important to do it on the basis of a percentage. So we need an assumption here about attrition, right, as a percentage. So maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 1%, I don't know. And in theory, what's good about this is if you can monitor, if you have this target here, that you know there's going to be some, you're always going to lose some clients. But monitoring the actual rate of attrition, when you actually analyze how many clients did we get each month, how many clients walked away, we can look at that figure. If we can track that number, that actually probably gives us a pretty good gauge on how good is our customer service, right?
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe, maybe not, but at least it could give us a clue that if all of a sudden our attrition percentage rate is going up, it's at least something that I would want to have in there as a consideration. Hey, are we losing people because we're not providing as good customer service as we could?
But sometimes businesses go out of business just because
True.
of other reasons.
Right. So again, I'm not saying we make the absolute assumption that we're losing clients because our customer service is bad, but we just want to watch that. And if we see that it goes up, then we might want to consider and just start kind of doing some internal sort of operational auditing and looking at, and maybe even polling people, hey, do you mind giving us some feedback on why you left? Right? Mm-hmm. If they went out of business, then we'll know that, and then we'll say, okay, nothing we can do about that.
I've been in business so long, mine keep dying.
Oh, God. Okay.
There you go.
Well, I actually have had to analyze which companies I know are lined up for have succession plans, and there's like children in the wings or whatever, and which ones I know will just close. Makes a difference.
So what I want to talk about for a few minutes here, though, is what the ultimate purpose of doing this is, besides the obvious. I mean, the obvious purpose is looking at this and saying, okay, so in a year, based on this model, I can get halfway to my goal of 600,000. That's without factoring in any attrition. So we've got to factor the attrition back in here at some point, right? The other thing is, at the end of the day, I like to look at this goal now and say, all right, Gabriel, you say you're going to get 5 new clients a month. Based on that, it'll take us about 2 years to reach our goal, and theoretically less, because as I said earlier, the way we're laying out these assumptions is pretty flat. In reality, if I start out getting 5 new clients each month, that should increase as time goes on. Gina, going back to the structure that we talked about earlier, if I'm at the top of the pyramid here, and then I have Jeff working directly underneath me, and he's managing 5 bookkeepers, right? So let's say that that's my goal, is to have Jeff managing 5 bookkeepers. Then we pick 1 star bookkeeper out of his 5, promote them to Jeff's level, and say, okay, now you're going to manage 5 bookkeepers. So we're building almost an MLM-like structure around a bookkeeping service, and I think it works. I think it works real well, because that's how I can build this infrastructure. So granted, I'm not going to take the whole 600,000 home with me. That's never been the intention, even if I take half of that home with me. At that point, right, because I'm at the top of the pyramid, I'm doing the least amount of work outside of getting the clients in, right? So that's from Nerd Enterprises standpoint. My role is, it's my blood, sweat, and tears that's bringing in all this business. I've also put in my time to structuring everything, what apps we're going to use, what industries we're going to serve, and what apps we need to learn to serve those industries. All that stuff that I'm going to be laying out in much greater detail in that 21st course we're rolling out, is going to be sort of around this and around this model where, I can't do it all myself, no question. If I want to grow and build something really big, then I definitely need help. I can never do it alone. So I have to build a team, and I have to find good people, of course. Going back to your comment, Gabriel, or question about interns, hire the interns, but watch them closely. Make sure they're reliable. Right? Make sure they're going to put as much care as you will into your job. Give them the promise, and make it sincere, of course, of a longer-term opportunity with you. That will probably get them to pay a little bit better attention. If they look at this as, I'm just doing this for 6 weeks during the summer while I'm out of school, they're not going to care. Get them to care. Give them reasons to care. Right? That's what it comes down to, I think, with that kind of model. I'm a fan of taking experienced bookkeepers, giving away a higher percentage of the revenue, because I think that builds loyalty, and also I don't have to be as involved because I can trust that they know what they're doing and that they're doing a good job, right? That's what happened with Jeff. When he came in my door and we started meeting every week, I started to realize, this guy knows what he's doing. He's got it down, and most importantly, this may be the #1 quality I want to see in anybody that ever works with me. And notice I say works with me and not for me. I think it sets a very different stage for how I work with people when I think of it from that mindset. I don't ever want anybody working for me. I want people working with me. I want them partnering with me so that collectively we can each take a percentage of the revenue, share in that, and share in the workload, and each of us puts our entire heart into it. And based on that, I want to bring in people that maybe I have to give away a little bit more money, but hopefully what that also translates to is I have to do less work, right? So, and then the roles are clearly defined. My role, I'm at the top of the pyramid. I have to make it rain. I have to bring in the business. I have to structure the system so everything's streamlined, right? And again, because we're talking about building the structure where I have managers each managing 5 bookkeepers, and each of those 5 bookkeepers managing, and I'm still in the process of figuring out how many clients can one bookkeeper manage, right? So based on, once I come up with a more concrete number, then again I have my system that much more streamlined. As soon as I see that my pyramid underneath one manager has maxed out, it's time to go to that manager and say, give me your best bookkeeper right now. And then move that bookkeeper up and start building their team, and so on and so forth. So, and that way everybody is kind of a partner in this. Nobody's an employee. Nobody's working for anyone. We're all working together for one common effort. First and foremost, to serve the client and make sure that their bookkeeping and accounting nightmares are gone, right? That they have no headaches with respect to that stuff, that they're getting the information they need, the strategic guidance that they desperately want based on that information on a weekly or monthly basis or whatever it is that they've signed up for. And if you remember from my tiers, and you can look on my bookkeeping page on my website if you don't, these different tiers, one of the most critically important ways to me that they're defined is insofar as the frequency of the analysis, right? The lower tiers only get monthly analysis. The higher tiers get it weekly, right? And the difference is at the higher tiers, we're going to give them more, right? We're going to give them more analysis. We're going to, you know, in my case, at the highest level, I'm giving them full-on cash flow projections. I'm giving them not only the bookkeeping, but the projected statements of income and expenses, the projected balance sheet, and the projected statement of cash flows. And all of that with the right supporting schedules based on whatever's important to that client. So if they say, you know, I want to monitor payroll closely and see when I can hire a new person and what the real impact of that's going to be on my cash flow, then I've got a detailed payroll schedule that flows as appropriate into the different line items on the P&L for the salaries, the employer taxes, the health insurance, the workers' comp, all that stuff gets modeled in and projected into the future so that when that client comes to me and says, hey, I want to hire somebody and pay them $90,000 a year, can I do it? All I have to do is drop in that line item and divide 90,000 by 12 and say, here's the gross monthly salary, put it in there and hit enter, and let's go look at the statement of cash flows and see what that looks like, right? So I want to build these systems in place and partner with the people that are helping me get the work done, which is why I think the percentage of revenue makes so much more sense than an employee who's being paid by the hour. An employee who's being paid by the hour is going to think like an employee who's being paid by the hour. But somebody that I'm partnering with to share in the revenues, to get the job done, all the incentive is there to get more and more efficient at their job, to get better and better at what they do, to learn the apps that they need to learn. And guess who's right there to provide them with that support and knowledge when they need it and when they're ready to learn it? That's me.
The payroll person in me, I hear the word employee. I hear, you know, keeping up with the exempt rules and hourly and overtime and all that. If they're a subcontractor, I don't call them employees.
Nor do I.
So, okay, so I just want to make that clear that some of us may have employees and some of us may be subbing it out, and then, you know, paying piecework or by job.
I don't know what the rules are as far as actual payroll employees go when it comes to wanting to do a revenue share, but I know that there are companies out there that are doing it. I've talked with people about it.
Right. You if they're not exempt legally per the Department of Labor, you may just have to keep their hours, require them to keep their hours anyway to make sure that they never drop below minimum wage. I pay so well that never happens, but you have to have the proof.
Right, but so in theory, if they're working enough jobs, getting a percentage of that revenue, then so you mean the pay base, what they're actually paid has to, if I divide that by the hours, has to be well above minimum wage. I see what you're saying.
Right.
So which is a case for why you still need something like T-sheets, even if you're not doing this. See, one of the nice things about doing this on a subcontracted basis strictly, like Jeff, he has his own corporation. The easiest way to do this is to go corp to corp. And do it on a subcontracted basis, because now you're completely out of that world, and nobody can tell me that he's an employee because he's got his own company, he's got his own clients, he's using his own computer, he's making his own schedule, right? And I'm very careful not to get into that part of it with them. I just hear the clients. Sometimes I'll ask them, hey, can you let me know when you have scheduled to do the work on this particular client, right? This way, when the client calls me and says, hey, when's my work getting done, I can say, oh, Jeff's going to work on it this Thursday, right? So I'm sure it gets a little sticky there, and I'm definitely one to want to not intentionally push the limits of these things, but I'm not afraid to sort of skate around those limits because I want to structure this in the best way possible based on the real world, and then look at the rules and how that fits into that picture, and then adjust accordingly so I make sure I'm staying, like, if necessary, just within the line, if you know what I mean. And because, you know, at the end of the day, what I think I'm doing here is extremely fair with people as far as compensating them. Because, again, by doing it this way, by doing it on the basis of a percentage of revenue, I'm basically saying it's up to you. You're going to now need to think like an entrepreneur, just like I think, and you're going to need to think in terms of how can I get better and better and more efficient so that my share of revenue is spread out over that many more jobs because I can get more done in less time. and that's how you increase. So that's how you get a raise, right? There's no more raises. Now, I love the idea also, because it's subcontracted, that when Jeff submits a bill, I don't need to worry about looking at his hours. I don't need to worry about how much time did he spend. It doesn't matter, right? Jeff sends a bill in to me, and he sends a bill for his share of each of the client's revenue that he worked on that month. And I look and I say, okay, the only thing I'm concerned about is making sure that he worked on all the clients he was supposed to that month, right? And if he didn't, following up with them and saying, but of course we have other apps in place that deal with that, where we track the projects and things. So that's going to be another thing we'll get into. You know, as we go on.
Is going to the next month. I've had employees and staff that, you know, they're getting the basic stuff done, clients happy, but all those other little things are piling up, you know.
Well, and that's where my job has to come into play, and that's where we frankly have it all outlined in Smartsheet, because we're using Smartsheet to manage the Smartsheet is the client-facing project management app that we use. So that's what's shared with the client, so they can see as things are getting done that we're putting in the date it was completed, and they're getting the alert the next day based on anything that changed in the last 24 hours.
Perfect.
And with that outline in place, it's hard to miss something, because I'll go in and go through that, and I'll say, hey, Jeff, you didn't mark this thing complete. Did you forget to mark it complete, or is it not done yet? And if it's not done, do you need the help and support? And notice the difference, because I hated working for other companies, because the difference right there in a scenario like that is, instead of coming down on him and saying, why wasn't this done, and what are you doing, and what am I paying you for, which is so much the mentality in corporate America, and that's why I hated working for companies in corporate America. Instead, I'm going to go, hey, Jeff, I see this wasn't done. Do you need help? Do you need support? Is it time for us to bring somebody else in? It's such a different approach, and to me, it's such a breath of fresh air. I'm hoping that one day more and more companies will catch on to doing things this way, because you know what the difference is? Now Jeff is going to be motivated to help me rather than feel bad about what he didn't get done. I always despised that mentality, and I always felt like it came from such small-minded people that it made me wonder, how is this person my boss? Right? And 3 consecutive job experiences after getting clean, I had that same exact experience, working for people that were just absolute morons. And I'm sorry to say that, and I hope one of them is listening, because I hope they, you know, I would like to get that feedback. I would like to know if I was in a position where I was treating somebody as horribly as I had been treated when I was working in corporate America. You can all go on to our Too Legit to Audit blog, which has now been migrated into School of Bookkeeping website directly, thanks to Eric, who does an amazing job with our website. But I wrote a post, you know, why did you start your business? And I tell the story of how awfully I was treated, actually, at one of these companies that I was initially working for through a temp agency. Where they would literally lock me out of their office at lunchtime, and I had, you know, I was starting over. I had no money. I had brown bagged my lunch. I was sitting on the steps outside this office every day and eating my lunch, because they'd kick me out of the office at lunchtime because they wanted to go to lunch, didn't invite me to come with them, and you know, said they had this policy that no non-employees could be left alone in their office. So okay, whatever.
Whatever.
But what I really wanted to stress with this, and we can continue on this, I think, next week, because there's so much more we can do with what I've just laid out for you, is that you get that target number, right? Gabriel, we came up with 5. And initially the process is to look at that and say, A, can I realistically get 5 new clients each month? Based on how I'm assuming that's going to be spread over the different tiers, we just figured out it's going to take about a year to get halfway to our goal. Is that acceptable? Or do we need to increase that and look at getting 10 a month so that we can reach that goal faster? Or is it too aggressive? Maybe we need to slow down on that. And of course, we're going to monitor the progress month in and month out. The bottom line is, every day I wake up, Gabriel, it's now June 19th. We're more than halfway through the month. Do I have at least 3 new clients yet? Right? And that way I wake up every day with that number in my mind. I need to get 3 new clients every month, you know, which is about 1 a week. Right? 5 new clients every month is about 1 a week, a little bit more. Right? So I have to think that way. I have to keep my eyes on that target every single day so that I know what I'm going for. And I swear to you, it's been my experience that I find I spend less time wasting time doing things on Facebook that aren't useful. Right? Of course, being in the ABO group is very useful because we're getting information, and I'm not even kidding about that. But if I find myself sitting on Facebook and, you know, reading my friends' newsfeed updates, that's generally speaking not that useful a way to spend my time. And if I've got this number in my mind and I'm thinking about that number, I immediately start changing the way my thought process works and thinking, is this getting me closer to that goal? If not, then I better stop what I'm doing and get back focused on reaching that goal. Right? Now, if I happen to reach that goal, in the first 2 weeks of the month, I get 5 new clients, I can do one of two things. Either I can relax for the rest of the month and say, okay, I've met my goal, I'm going to reward myself by taking it easy, or I can say, hey, you know what, let's see if I can double that goal, right? And that just depends on, you know, how you want to approach that. But that's my mission here when I lay out this stuff. Next week, I'm going to show you the template that I started creating for Course 21, which I honestly think is going to blow your minds in terms of the way it lays out this kind of stuff. It's really detailed, and it walks you through a very detailed process that includes balancing out every area of your life. I'm excited to show you guys that, and of course, I'm excited to get this. What?
Repeat that. Repeat the name.
The name?
Yeah.
The name of the course.
The course.
Oh, it's Accounting and Bookkeeping Cloud Practice Management. How to grow and start your business in today's world. It's there on our course listing on schoolofbookkeeping.com. You'll see it's Course 21.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm working on behind the scenes when I'm not working on other stuff. The whole first section of the course is ready. I just don't want to roll that out until I've got the whole second section ready. So once I got Section 2 done, then I'll roll out Section 1 while I'm working on Section 3. I'll roll out Section 2 and so on. This way, because I hate rolling something out and then making everybody wait another like 2 months before I get something else in there. So that's my plan. I'm sticking to it. Gina, you have Meredith Wood today?
Yes, I do. Fundera, come join me.
All right, join Gina today. What time? What channel?
Okay, 5:30 Eastern Time. My YouTube channel. You'll find me in the events.
Beautiful. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Meredith was here a couple weeks ago. She was amazing. I'm sure she's going to be even more amazing today with Gina.
Thanks. We'll be talking about partners.
Okay. Excellent. All right. See you all later.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.